I don't really know. Lucy will explain it, okay?
So we are live now, which means we're recording this Hangout. There may be other people who are watching it or might watch it later, and they're really excited to learn what everybody's doing in Vermont during Hour of Code. My name is Lucy Delabriere, and I am the Ignite Coordinator for VitaLearn, and also a co-leader for Vermont Google Educator Group, and who are sponsoring these series of webinar along with the Agency of Education. Welcome, everybody. Today we have a speaker from BlueHouse Group, Isaiah, and we have Dorset School hosting Isaiah, and I am really excited to introduce Phyllis, who will tell us a little bit about the Dorset School program and what she does with coding during Hour of Code Week and beyond. Take it away, Phyllis.
Okay, so thank you, Lucy, for setting this up, and Isaiah for giving us your time. But I've been working with the students with programming for quite a few years using Scratch by MIT, and this is our third year participating in the Hour of Code. So they're quite comfortable with how programming works and what it's all about. So, what, you just lost Lucy.
She's also muted.
So, Isaiah, it's nice that we can see how you can use programming in a job, whether you're a technical person or not a technical person. Lucy, we lost your mic.
I just muted myself to make sure that you guys had all the bandwidth.
Oh, okay. So, maybe, let me move out of the picture and you can talk with the students.
Great, that sounds good.
Okay. Isaiah's going to talk with you guys. Come on, sit right up there. Come on, Taya.
Get around.
Hey, well, we're like doing so much. Oh, yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my God. Hi.
All right, nice to meet you guys. I'd love to hear from you guys just what you've been doing with coding recently.
We've our code. Yeah, we've been doing. And we did Code Academy a little bit. Yeah. Well, we did that last year. Yeah.
I pretty much put them on.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
It was like a scan.
Oh, science. Oh, we did this.
Why don't we pick people to just talk one at a time? We lost the sound
Oh, yeah?
for a little bit.
Okay.
So, Kai, do you want to mention what we've been working on?
Okay.
Please?
Why me?
Because you have very good answers.
We were working on Scratch, and then we were working with the Hour of Code website this year and last year. And then last year we worked with Stanford Academy in the coding class. And yeah.
And so I just got to look at that Hour of Code website. There's a Minecraft thing on there and a Star Wars thing on there. Is that the thing you guys are talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that? Did you guys like that? Was it fun?
Yeah, it's pretty chill. A little easy.
Which one is better, the Minecraft one or the Star Wars one?
Yeah, the Minecraft.
Why was it better? What did you like about it?
You know, more blocky of a computer. Yeah, it was like more to do. Yeah.
What was that? Somebody said something in the back. I didn't quite hear it. Could you say it again louder?
It feels like more to do. There
was more to do on the Minecraft one.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Do you guys know Minecraft in general?
Yeah, I used to play it. I used to, yeah.
Anybody play with mods in Minecraft at all?
I did. I used them.
Did you use what are those?
They're mods. They're like modifications to the game, so you can add certain things to the game.
Like, oh, that's cool.
Like a Dario mods.
Yeah. You get
I did. Yeah.
That's pretty cool because you know that thing you do when you will you explain real quick? I'm sorry. What's your name? You're in the front, and you said you've done mods before. What was your name?
Oh, my name's Kaya. Hi.
Kaya.
Yeah.
Will you explain to everybody just real quick what mods are?
Basically, they're things you can like download into the game, and it's not just like Minecraft. It's like multiple, like different games. Like most games have them, and you add like certain things into your game. Like for example, you could have like different weapons and stuff like that with mods.
So basically, if you wish the game could do a new thing, you can go get a mod that does it, and download it, install it, and now your game does the new thing, right?
Modification.
How do you find the mods? Like, let's say you're like, in Minecraft, I wish my guy could jump twice as high. How could you go find that mod?
Oh, well, I had this program called Technic for Minecraft specifically that you could, like, look up a mod and then copy paste the URL into this thing, and then you could just like download it. It's cool.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I recently discovered that with my kids, and I was amazed at how much that is just like what it's like to do real programming. Because when you're in school, a lot of times people want you to do things yourself, right, so that you learn it. And if you copy someone else's work, that might not be so good, right? But it's kind of a funny thing. Once you get out in the big world of programming, it's all about sharing. All the programmers share with each other in such a big way that a lot of times if you build something yourself, your friends might say, that's not very efficient. That's not a good use of time. So a lot of other people will have built something and they will have already tested it and made all the mistakes that you would have made and come up with something more reliable. And so you should go find the thing that that person built and get it and install it into your program instead of building it yourself. Not always. Sometimes you build it yourself. But anyway, that thing you do with getting mods and putting them in games, that's exactly like what real programmers do. It's the same thing. Kind of cool. Okay, so let's see. So you guys did the Minecraft thing, and you guys did some Scratch stuff. And here I am. I'm kind of on the other end of things. I started programming when I was a little bit younger than you guys. I have a great picture of me showing off my first computer program when I was in 6th grade. So, just a little younger than you. And that was back on this Commodore 64 machine, which those are very old machines, and it's really cool because they could do a lot, even though that they were like so weak compared to machines nowadays. It's sort of amazing. You could have like 1,000 of those machines, and it wouldn't be even half of like a machine nowadays. But then I decided I wanted to be a teacher, so I was a teacher for a long time because I really liked interacting with students. And then I decided I wanted to make a change, so I learned some more modern programming and started programming now. So I could talk to you guys about kind of what it's like to do the job of programming. I could also talk to you guys about like code in the world, like why is code important, or if you knew some coding, what would it help you do? Those are some things that I can tell you about. Does anybody have any questions along those lines? Okay, if you don't. I have more things I could ask you guys if you don't have questions. I'm curious about, like, I mean, everybody knows that computers are important, right? The internet is everywhere, there's all these phones, and they just keep to be changing and growing all the time. But what part of it is actually code? What does the code do? Who can tell me about that?
Like the websites, like behind the websites, like behind everything, like there's like a code to it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. And, could there be good code or bad code? What do you think?
There's malicious software.
Yeah.
There's viruses and stuff.
Tell me about that. What do you know about viruses and stuff?
When you send a text message, like,
No, the worst. Yeah.
like, did everyone like send that to you?
Yeah.
So many people, and then like shut your thing down.
Yeah.
Like the moment you.
Okay, but I can't. One of the problems with this microphone, it's normally hard enough to hear multiple people talking, but over this microphone, it's like completely impossible. So maybe
Can I clarify? This is Phyllis. I think when Liam mentioned the malicious software and the hacking, and people are actually writing code to do malicious things, whereas the chatting, that's human beings using the software inappropriately to do malicious things. So with coding,
it wasn't just almost everybody here said that.
yeah. But how can we watched the movie Code Girl also. It showed these girls were picking out problems in the community, and they had to use technology to solve an issue. So those are good uses of technology and how we can think of it more than just the machines, helping humanity, doing good for the world. How can we
computer as a tool to do that.
Can anybody think of can anyone think of an example of what your teacher just mentioned? Some kind of app or website that you think is really helping the world be a better place? Maybe the whole big planet of the world, or maybe just your town or Vermont or something like that.
I think Google has a ton of stuff, a lot of different things.
Yeah, it sure does. Like tell me about that.
There's the search engine, and then there's like Drive, and then there's Maps, and then there's email and other things.
Yeah, yeah. And what makes that doing good for the world?
There's like communication, and it makes it easier for people to collaborate.
Yeah, that's really true. And how much do you have to pay to use that stuff?
Sorry.
Yeah. What is going on with that? Do you guys have any idea how Google gives away all that stuff for free? Doesn't that strike you as amazing? I mean, it's some of the most useful stuff on the internet. Really, what would we do without it? And it's just like free? Seriously? What do you guys think about that?
I think ads.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
All
the ads.
Nice ads. Can you believe that ads make them that much money that they can just afford to give the rest of it away for free?
Well, I think that, yeah, because like since Google is used, like everyone uses it.
Yeah.
It's like everybody, their ads would be on Google.
Yeah, because everybody uses Google, everybody's going to see the ads, so the ads are going to pay for money to get their ads onto Google.
You know, this is something, I'm glad we got to this topic, because this is something that I think people, it's good to sort of pay attention to this. The kind of advertising that Google can do has this huge advantage over advertising before Google. So before Google and internet advertising in general, although it is mostly Google, you're right, how did people do advertising? If you wanted to sell sneakers, what do you do to sell your sneakers? Where do you put your ads?
On like a billboard, like would see it, or like a newspaper.
Yes,
Newspaper.
Yeah, billboard, newspaper, TV show, etc. Right? And how do you know how many people are actually seeing those ads? Like actually, because that's the whole point. If you put it on a rock and bury it, you know, the point of an ad is to be seen, right? How do you know how many people are actually seeing it?
Well, unless it's on TV, then like you don't.
I know, and even if it's on TV, how do you know?
Well, they have like viewer ratings, right?
Yeah, they have viewer ratings, but that's all like interviews by phone that they do, which have to be landline phones, by the way, so the value of that is quickly going away. So it's in other words, it's super duper hard to tell. And of the people who see them, so we've got, these are the number of ads I put out, right? So there's going to be a smaller circle of the number of ads that actually get seen, right? And then an even smaller circle of how many people who saw that ad cared about it, were interested at all. You have any way of knowing that? No. What about with Google, though? Think how different that is. You know exactly how many people saw that ad, right? Every time they display that ad on a search result, they count that. So they can tell you, we showed your ad to 250,000 people today. They can count it. And they know how many people were interested, right? How do they know that?
By counting how many people clicked on it.
How many people clicked on it? So that's why we have Google. Is that thing where they realized we could do advertising that is completely better than any advertising in the history of the world, because we can count who sees it and who cares about it, which is the thing everyone has always wanted to know but never been able to know. Now we know it. Whoa. And that's why Google got so humongous so quick. That's pretty much it. And their search engine is really good. That helped them too. Okay, so, but you know what, actually, I want to go back to my question about good and bad. You guys answered it kind of, I guess I would say, morally. Would you agree? Like good code, in other words, code that helps advance things that we all believe in the world, as opposed to bad code, which is like malicious, right? But what if we answer it less in terms of, and that was a good conversation, but I'm also interested in having conversation about good and bad code just in terms of usefulness, right? Like, have you ever been on a website that is bad, not bad as in bad for you, but bad as in badly made, doesn't work very well? Anyone know of a website like that? Yes, yeah. Back there in the corner, maroon shirt with a horse, I think, that's white.
Bernie Sanders, yeah.
Oh, Bernie Sanders.
They're almost the same.
Almost the
I was your age. Bernie Sanders was mayor of Burlington, and I lived in Burlington, by the way, so I remember that. And when he first got elected mayor, do you know what happened? He parked his car in the spot that says mayor only parking and got towed because his car was so old and beat up, no one believed it was really the mayor's. It happened when I was your age. But okay, sorry, what was your answer?
Yeah, like there's been like a couple of websites that I've seen that have been like so boring. It's like it's been like
Oh my god.
Okay, but you guys, this guy's in the back, so I really can't hear him unless we're all quiet. Sorry.
Alright, so I've seen some where they like buy the domain and then they barely do anything with it. They add like 1 or 2 pictures, 1 or 2 links. That's about it.
And it's in Comic Sans.
You're just kind of squatting on that domain, hoping somebody else buys it from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been like so poorly made.
Yeah, that seems like a pain. Okay, anybody else have a website that they think is bad in the sense of badly made, not very useful or annoying? You guys come on, I know you guys are 7th graders. You have a critical view on the world. I'm sure you have been on websites and you've said, what is this? Oh man, I can't believe it.
There was like one thing that just had like one, like the Spanish flashcards thing. It says, so it's like a blinking thing at the top. This is Spanish flashcards, and then it's all different colors, and like none of it's white.
So
It's like really like
It's just
sketchy.
It's the ugliest thing.
It's only it's all white on the page. Like, it's just like a big. It's like a paragraph. Almost.
And it's like flashing.
It's all words.
It's
It's
all
flashing. It's really weird.
Right. That's great to hear. So you have a good sense. What's your name with the blue headband who had that good answer? Sorry?
Hannah.
Oh, I said one more time.
Hannah.
Hannah, hi Hannah. Yeah, so it sounds like you have a good sense for website design, right? Flashing stuff is awful, right? Big blocks of text is awful. No one likes looking at that. That's what the whole internet used to look like in the 90s. Thank goodness people learned. But, you know, we're inventing the internet as we go, right? And it's funny, you're probably going to look back at websites, you know, when you're my age, you'll look back at websites that exist now, and you'll say, oh, man, look at that thing we used to do. It's so silly.
Oh, Google was so poorly made.
Oh.
One day Google's just going to be so much more advanced that we're going to look back on it. It's going to be like, oh my god, that was so primitive.
Do you guys know when people talk about, if we're talking about websites, people talk about the front end of the website and the back end of the website when it comes to the code? Is that something you've heard before?
No.
Hannah, you were just talking about the front end. The front end is the part people see. Okay? So there's a whole bunch of code that has to do with the front end of the website. In other words, let's make it look good and let's make it easy to use, right? So that's a whole type of programming, right? There's whole, like, programmers would say, I'm a front-end programmer, and that means that they are programming the part of the website people actually see. So if that's what the front end is, what do you think the back end might be?
The like behind the scenes.
So is that like the HTML code that's like behind all of that that actually like programs it?
Yeah, the stuff that like makes it do stuff, right? Kind of like the guts of it. The HTML is going to be on the front end because that's the stuff that's actually displayed. Basically, anything that, let's see. I guess I wonder how much you guys know about the way websites work. What is a website anyway? When you type in like www.code.org, what does your computer do? Do you know?
It takes you there.
There, yeah. Your computer just teleports. What does it do? What's your computer? You have a little computer, right? Like, let's say you're sitting in front of a computer right now, and let's say somebody fires up a browser and types that in. What is that computer doing? It's sending out a request. It's having a communication, right? It uses a nice fancy system to find out where code.org is, right? Some computer, probably in California, and it goes and talks to that computer, right, and says, okay, give us the code.org site. And then the code.org computer over in California says, sure, let me get it ready for you. Okay, it's ready now, and sends it back over, and then it shows up on your computer, right? So the front end is the chunk that it actually sends you. That other computer, the computer that actually has the website on it, and it sends some to your computer. So the chunk that it sends over to you, that's the front end. But all the processing that it does itself over in California that your computer never sees, that's the back end. Does that make sense? Yeah. So a good front end design is like what you were talking about, Hannah, having it look good and work well. Good back end design would be something like Google, where when I actually type in the address, when I type in some search things, I actually get search stuff coming out that makes sense, right? Instead of getting a bunch of random things that doesn't make sense.
Isaiah, one website we're using a lot is freerice.com. That might kind of clarify that. Do you know FreeRice?
No. Let me just look at it super quick.
FreeRice is a father who wanted to set up some testing for his son who's taken the SAT course. So it started with vocabulary.
Yeah.
And the front end, the user can answer vocabulary questions, and it keeps track of whether they get it right or not. And then sponsors are there, and they sponsor rice to third world countries.
Yep.
And so behind that, now it's really expanded to all kinds of subjects. And I've also added groups for my classes that they can now keep track of how much rice they've contributed as a group or as a class. So the back end, the front end is everybody answering the questions, but the back end, somebody had to put those questions in. Somebody has to check and see if you got it right or wrong. Somebody has to keep track of our 7th grade group and keep track of when someone logs in that those grains of rice or that score is going to that group. So I think maybe that's the back end, so that might be something we can relate to on front end and back end.
Yeah, thanks, Phyllis. That's exactly what I was.
And if I can chime in for a minute, I'd like to share a really quick story about my students, about back end and front end. So I was teaching a class, and my students were doing a project where they were collecting stories from families in our community who had come down from Quebec, because it was the first generation of families that had come from Quebec. They did 300 interviews. If they had coded all those interviews in HTML, it would have taken them a long time. So they put all that information in a database. And there were recipes, and there were stories and videos. But what was really interesting is, because a big project like that requires everybody to do their part, one young lady named Tammy was designing a recipe card on the front end. She was making all her HTML tables look like a recipe card. And in the middle of that card, it kind of brought in all the recipes when you search for desserts or whatever particular piece. Well, she went home and she said, Mr. Labriere, can I take that home and work on it at home tonight? And this was before we had cloud computing. So she put it on probably a disk and brought it home and was going to FTP it, something you probably don't even know about, but the next day. And she came in, and she not only had the front end, the beautiful design done, she had all the back end programming done. And in that group, there was a bunch of boys who were doing the programming, and they went, wait a minute, she did our job. And it was kind of funny because she was a really good designer, so we gave her the job of designing. But I said to those young men, Tammy can design and do back-end coding because she's been watching you guys work and picking up skills. She has some really good combination of skills there. So I'm kind of sharing this story for you young ladies out there, because a lot of times as young women, we tend to shy away from the back end. We try to stay in the design world, and by learning the coding along with the front end stuff, you have a lot of great skills. So I kind of just wanted to share that story about front end and back end from my stories, from my students. Sorry to interrupt.
That's fine.
I think that's really true. Another thing that I should mention is that by the time you guys are my age, I wonder if they will still talk about front end and back end, because there's a lot of technology nowadays that is mixing them a little bit. Like you mentioned Google Docs, right? Like Google Drive. That's a great example. It's hard to say which parts of that app are front end or back end. It's very, very thoroughly mixed. Let's see. I'm curious, we only have about 11 minutes left, and one thing that I would love to talk to you guys about, if you're interested, is just kind of what it's like to do this for a job. There's a lot of different kinds of jobs you can have that have to do with coding, and I have had only a couple of them, but I have friends who've had others, so I can answer questions about that. I can kind of tell you my story. I don't know if any of you guys know any people who are adults who do coding, maybe your parents, I don't know. Does anyone have any questions about kind of what it's like to do it as a job or how to get started or that kind of thing? Anybody think they might want to do it as a job? Is this like a real job idea, maybe? Yeah?
I can maybe start, again, Phyllis again. I've been trying to encourage more and more students to go into computer science or programming as a job, but everyone thinks, oh, I'll just be sitting at a desk and sitting at a computer screen writing code all day. But there's a much more creative problem solving, helping people solve their issues or build their business application. Can you talk maybe about when you are a programmer, how you really do still interact with people a lot?
Yeah, to be honest, I have my oldest kid is 9, so he's not quite your guys' age. He's still kind of young. But they look at me doing my job and they say, wow, our father's so lucky. He has a job which involves playing games all day, because that's basically what they think I'm doing, is playing computer games all day. And to be perfectly honest with you, the little kid inside me agrees with them. That is what it feels like. It feels kind of like getting to play video games all day. Which, I don't know, do you guys like playing video games?
No.
I'm not making that up. I feel every day I wake up, I feel lucky I get to do this. On the weekend, I have to tell myself, it's okay, you don't get to do your fun job till Monday. You can find other things to do because it's that fun. Yeah, there's a lot of typing, but I think Phyllis made a really good point that you're connecting with other people and you're solving problems so much that it really feels a lot like playing a really fun multiplayer video game is what it feels like, because you're interacting with these other people, and the stuff that you want to create, like think about, it's a lot like Minecraft. If you want to make something, you make it right then, and then it's made right in front of you. And you're doing that with other people all the time and always collaborating. So you often have that exciting feeling. You know that feeling when you build a cool thing in Minecraft? You're like, look at that thing. Look at it. I built it. There it is. You get that feeling a lot, like every day. And it's super fun. On top of that, when it comes to jobs that have opportunity, this is one of those jobs that really, really does. If you don't like, if I get bored of the type of work I'm doing now, there's other types of work I could do. Like, for example, some programmers, what they do is a lot more of like usability testing. So what they're going to do is actually go out and find people using their website or their app and interview them about, how are you using this app and how is it useful for you, and show me different ways that you're using it. And so those people aren't going to spend a lot of time in front of a screen at all. Those people are going to be talking to other people and asking them how they use it and finding out what parts don't work so well for them. So that job could be more interesting if you're more interested in talking to people. Or, if you like more solving like really hard puzzles, you could do more of the back-end programming. On the other hand, if you like making stuff be really beautiful and pleasant to interact with, then you could do more of the front-end programming. My point is there's a lot of variety, right? You don't get stuck in one type of work. You can change up the type of work, which is pretty nice. Some jobs can get boring after a bunch of years, but this job not so much. An advantage. Also, you can work from your house or your RV in Arizona or kind of wherever, right? Which is fun, because how many of you guys like to travel around and visit new places? Yeah, I do too. When I was in 7th grade, I got to do that a lot, actually. It was pretty cool. And this is another thing about that job. You could pretty easily, like I have a friend of mine who in about a week he's going to go back to Paris. He was in Paris last year for about a year, and now he's going back to visit his friends. And so he can work in Vermont or work in France. He can just kind of go to France and keep having his job and then come back. Not a lot of jobs where you can do that. It's pretty great.
One of the things that we get to do is meet people when we travel around the United States, and we are meeting more and more young people in their 20s who are in RVs. It used to be RVs were for older people. Now there's all these young people who are traveling around and doing this type of job that Isaiah does from all over the world and all over the United States.
And I should say, you might notice right now that there's more men than women doing programming. If you look around at programmers right now, it's going to be like mostly men, right? Definitely some women, but mostly men. Even though the first programmer ever in the history of human beings was, you guys know? Ada Lovelace was the first programmer, and she wrote computer programs before there were computers. Okay, that's how smart she was. She thought well, there could be machines like this that took instructions, and if they did, they might take instructions that looked like this, and there she did and wrote computer programs before there were computers. So even though the first programmer in the world was a woman, most programmers nowadays are men. But do you know what that means? I have to admit, that might mean, especially for people your age, that the young women have a little bit of an advantage. I would maybe guess. Not too big, but maybe a little bit, because companies might be thinking down the road, things are a little bit out of balance, right? The balance has to swing back the other way. So I would definitely encourage everybody, no matter whether you're a boy or a girl, to be interested in programming. But if you're a girl, I would not be discouraged by the fact that there's not as many women doing it, because there are definitely a lot of good women programmers, and there's even this really cool organization around here called Girl Develop It. Do you guys know about this organization? You guys haven't heard of it? It's a organization around the whole United States, but there's a chapter in Burlington, and it's actually how I learned to do some modern programming. I went to their classes. They focus on helping women and girls learn to code, but they don't exclude men and boys. They just focus on women and girls, that's all. So I went to their classes. I was like, I don't care. It says Girl Develop It, but there's really good classes, so I'm going to go. And I met the people who run it, and they're really cool, great people. So it's a great organization. They're mainly based in Burlington, but I'm sure they would come out and visit you guys. And I just really recommend them because they're good people running it. And like I said, I'm not a girl, and I went to their classes, and it was great. And there were other guys. It's not all women. They just focus on women. So pretty cool organization, especially as you get a little older, and if you're looking to learn some more coding, they run some classes. Would be really fun to go to.
Now, is the IT and Girl Develop It stand for IT or IT, information technology? So
Yeah.
that's what you might hear a lot.
A little fun there, yeah.
So it looks like we're coming to a close. I'm really excited that you guys got a chance to talk. Maybe we can close up by Williston just sharing a few of their projects that they've created on their own. Sounds like you've been doing some stuff, some fantastic stuff, and I'm not sure if you mentioned what the Stanford course was like or some of your other projects.
Anyone?
I mean, Dorset School. I'm not sure if I said Dorset.
Yeah. We haven't gone into too many projects. We did the Stanford University online course, CS 101, last year, which is extension of it was beyond the hour of code. That was a lot of basics overall, pixels, actual programming syntax, databases, spreadsheets. But I really just kind of let them experiment at this point. We should probably start to delve into some projects.
Well, I have a project that I'd like to just share with you a little bit about that's coming out, and we've kind of been sneaking out some information all week, and we're going to announce it next week, but since you guys are here, maybe you'd like to hear about it, and that is that we're going to send some robots all around Vermont to schools who would like to learn how to code them, and in May we're going to have a robot rodeo, and our robot rodeo is going to be all coded by you guys training the robots. Would you guys like to host one of our robots for a week?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Double thumbs up.
So it's actually for a month. I said for a week. And I have one of my robots right here. I moved it around, so I'm going to move over. And since you guys kind of liked, you guys know this guy?
It's
Can't see him yet. He
frozen.
froze.
Yeah, video's lagging.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Yeah.
Now can you see him? Let me hold him up in front of my face.
a little bit.
I know the screen's black.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Looks kind of like what's a Star Wars robot?
that's like Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the one.
So this is just one of my robots, and we've got about 20. We're going to be sending them out to Vermont schools, and you guys get to train the robots for a month, and then pass them on to another school, and then come back for a robot rodeo in May.
Oh, great. Great.
We're kind of hoping we get some businesses maybe to sponsor some extra robots. Hint, hint, BlueHouse.
Yeah, send me an email. That sounds like a great idea.
But anyway, so I'll send Miss Tate some information about that.
Great. Thank you, Lucy.
Awesome. Well, you guys, we got you in the, when I was a teacher, we used to call the time right after lunch nap time. And so I'm really grateful for you guys being very lively even during the time after lunch when your bellies are trying to digest all your lunch. So it was great to meet you guys.
Thank you, Isaiah. You guys thank him?
Thank you.
Bye.
Lucy, bye.
Bye.
Yeah.